to a short Sony VEGAS Pro 17 scripting tutorial. Well, not exactly about the script, but about using the script. So with VEGAS Pro 17 we have gotten some pretty awesome new features. For example, the Bezier masking tool was extended by the option to not only track location but also to track shape and location. What does this mean? If I, for example, wanted to track this car rear, I would be able to do so pretty easy. And now, as you can see, the rear of the car is being tracked. How does this help? For example, if I wanted to blur this rear view out, I could, for example, use the Pixelate plugin. Where is it? There. Add it to my plugin chain. Use some pretty heavy pixelization. For example, like that. Put it in front of the Bezier masking plugin and just mask out the rear view of the car. Pretty awesome. But what if I wanted to simulate, for example, a video playing on the back of the car? Well, it's kind of unrealistic, but it's just proof of concept right now. I could do with a new script introduced in VEGAS Pro 16, I think, by the community. It was a community developed script. I could use a media generator, for example, a checkerboard, small tiles, for example. Let's do this like that. Here we go. And we now could use the pan and crop option. No, not the pan and crop option. We could use the, where is it? Track motion with 3D source alpha to kind of properly align it on the back of the car. But as you can imagine, doing this for every keyframe is pretty labor intensive and doesn't serve the purpose of just quickly applying a media of any kind to a motion tracking track, so to say. We can also, as I mentioned with the script, use the picture-in-picture plugin and put it to freeform to align our media perfectly with the rear of the car. And now, using said new script, well, fairly new script, which is under extension, copy motion track to picture-in-picture. Well, that was my error. You can track any media onto the rear of the car. Well, probably you are asking, so what do I need another plugin for, or another script? While this works good in most cases, there are some cases where you have to try and motion track your planar surface multiple times in order for it to track it properly, and also sometimes the picture-in-picture can get messed up. I don't know why. For some reason this is a error which is not in the script. It's an error in the motion tracking itself. I don't know how the script works. I have tried to search for the source code of this script multiple times. I haven't found it, so I couldn't determine it myself what is faulty about that. So what do we do instead? Every other software I used, would it be After Effects or HitFilm or any other software really, uses 4-corner point tracking. What does that mean? That means we track 4 corners of an object, and after that we take a picture-in-picture like plugin and apply each corner, each individually tracked corner to said picture-in-picture corners. This feature doesn't exist natively in VEGAS Pro, but I made a plugin for it. So what do you have to do to use this? You take a media, apply the picture-in-picture effect to it, you make sure the mode is set to freeform, so we can manipulate it. We just mute it for the time being. After that, we don't track the whole surface, but we track each corner individually. Just for ease of use, I don't know why it duplicated that. I would just want to make sure that VEGAS doesn't crash on me again, which happened on a previous recording, which I'm recording it a second time. I'm just naming it some random name. And after that, each mask is going to track an individual corner. Please note that in order for this to work best, the center of the rectangle of the Bezier masking plugin should be also the desired center of the picture-in-picture corner. So if I want my picture-in-picture corner to be right there, I have to take the center of my rectangle and align it with that location. After that, we only track the location. You can also track the shape and location, but I found that pure location tracking is the most accurate in preserving the center of the tracking data, so to say. So the center would ideally stay exactly at that point. All right, let's view this back. Seems pretty okay. Let's try mask 2. Go back to the beginning of the clip. I find it easier to align the center first and then resize my rectangle. Also, it is worth noting that this method isn't completely foolproof. It may occur that you have to redo a corner because it isn't tracked properly or something like that. It may happen. But as I said, it should be more reliable than just slapping a curve tracked motion tracking data on a picture-in-picture freeform. Okay, looks pretty good to me. Yeah. Let's do mask 3. Go to the beginning. This according to my corner tracking high location keyframe interval is 1. Track this. Let's play this back. Looks pretty pretty reasonable. And then for mask 4, we do exactly the same thing again. Tracking options high and keyframe interval to 1. Okay, so after we populated our motion tracking data, as you can see, we now have to have a second track with the picture-in-picture plugin applied, set to freeform. My plugin will also tell you if you have missed any of the steps. So if I try and apply the script copy mask to picture-in-picture corner on that, then it notices me that the mode of the picture-in-picture plugin has to be set to freeform. So after that, you have two options. First option is that it automatically detects where the two clips overlap that you have selected. So if I will choose the first option, which I will show you in a second, it would take this region, because this is the region where both clips overlap. Or in the normal standard case, it would take this region. But you might only want to use this data to track the picture-in-picture onto our motion tracking data, because, for example, from here on you want to track another video on there or something like that. Then you have the second option, which is selecting a region where you want your motion tracking data to be copied. Note, however, that if you have no active selection, then the behavior is pretty random and unexpected, so it is not recommended to use the selection option when you have no active selection. So only use this if you have made a active selection. Also note that you probably have to do the selection from right to left, or you have to scrub through your media to find the beginning point, which is pretty annoying. So just set to markers, select the first marker, hold shift, and select upon your second marker. This is probably the easiest way to do this. But in my case, it is sufficient to do from beginning to end. So what do? I select the beginning of the clip. I hold Ctrl down, select both clips, go to Tools, Scripting, and copy mask to picture-in-picture corner. The location for the script is different for everyone. Well, there in the main VEGAS Pro installation location, there is a folder with which is named Script Menu, where all custom scripts are located. But there are also other locations, like in your document folder, where you can put your custom scripts. If you haven't already, just check Google for that. There are multiple locations, which I don't know right now. So now we have to know and remember which mask is which corner. In my case, this is mask 1, this is mask 2, this is mask 3, and this is mask 4. So we want to copy mask 1 to the corner in the top left. Want to copy this data to this corner. I click on Done, and now he's asking me about the method. This is just a long explanatory text for what it does, but short yes is for from beginning to end, and no is from to do only the selection area. I want to copy from the cursor onwards to the end of the clip, And now you can see that the corner has been mapped to the tracked corner. Well, at the moment it's pretty useless because it's just one corner, but there's no limit on how often we can perform this operation. We want to copy mask 2 to the top right corner. And finally, not finally, but as a third step, we want to have copied mask 3 to the bottom left corner. And we do the same thing with mask 4 and the bottom right corner. And now, if we disable the mask, well, at least hide it, you can see that our media has been successfully tracked onto the rear of the car. And this in a reliable and consistent fashion. Now for the second plugin. Tracking an object in the center of the frame. What does that mean? I want to have a cutout selected, and I want to follow, for example, the face, so that it remains the center of my frame. All tutorials I have seen to this point for Sony Vegas suggest going in frames by frames and tracking the face by hand. This may be fine for such a simple use case like this, where there isn't rapid motion and also isn't motion which completely which isn't very direction changing, so to say, because you can imagine if every frame the object is completely somewhere else, it's a pain in the ass to make. And also, if you look at the center of my frame and on, for example, the nose, which I use as a reference point, you can see that it's a little bit behind. It just doesn't look as smooth. You can see it's kind of a little bit jittery, and it's just not really ideal. So, what can we do about that? Pretty easy. You have to have a motion tracking plugin, so in the Bezier masking plugin in particular, with motion tracking data in it. So I would take the Bezier masking plugin, mark the face, which of course isn't tracked at the moment, but will be tracked in a second by using tracking, options, high, shape and location, and set the keyframe interval to 1. And it will hopefully track the face pretty accurately. You can see that the point is always approximately in the same position. So what do we do now with this? Well, we have motion tracking data, and we have a clip that we want to transform according to this data. So in a standard case, I just duplicate my clip, select my frame. For example, I want to have a really zoomed in view of the face. I then select both clips, one with the Bezier masking plugin and one with a pan and crop. After that, I go to Tools, Scripting, and Copy Mask to Crop Center. It wants me to know from which mask I want to copy. In my case, this is mask 1. And as with the other plugin, with the other script, it asks me if I want to do a selection or from the cursor onwards. I want to do from the cursor onwards. And now, as you can see, the face stays perfectly centered in the frame. It's just that quick. No pain in the ass, no manual pan and crop manipulation, just simply a script which does it for you. Also, this script works non-destructively. What does that mean? That means if you, for example, want to zoom in more at the end, it will like multiply the vectors so that the zoom in persists. So this would look like this. But keep in mind that you would have to do this before applying the motion tracking data, because afterwards, if I just demonstrate it really quickly again, if you do it after the fact, then if you want to change anything, it's pretty annoying because it copies all the motion tracking keyframes. Of course, if you have tracked your motion with a keyframe interval of 5, for example, here there would also be only 1 keyframe for each 5 keyframes in the video in the pan and crop settings. But as you can imagine, to later change this consistently, it's a pain in the butt. So just remember it beforehand if you want to have a zoom in effect together with the tracked motion.